We'll be having two sessions now, one in this hall, another one in the another hall. In this room, we'll be having topic transitioning in grace, how to prepare for life's final exam, which will be done by Brahmachari Gaurav and Ashis. While in the other room, we'll be having balancing material success with a spiritual life, which will be conducted by Pia Singh. So now I invite Ashis and Brahmachari Gaurav to lead the session.
Over to you,
So
Gaurav.
I'll say a few words before we start. Ashis Chakravarti, he started with Ananda in 2009, has been very active on Kriya Home Study course, teaching to a lot of students. He frequently conducts sessions on stress management, right, healing. I've been traveling around a lot between Bangalore, Gurgaon, Pune, now in Chandigarh, and is also helping out a lot on the Ananda publication side. Along with him, we have Brahmachari Gaurav, who is graduate in business administration from Symbiosis, Pune. And even before that, he started his teachings very early in his life. Stayed with Swami Kriyananda, right, from 2004. In fact, he spent around a decade with him, so a lot of inspiration coming from him. He has also been part of management of the Ananda Sangha India Trust, and now he offers program on various subjects including meditation, holistic well-being, also takes groups on pilgrimages, right? So that is what very fascinating part. I've also been part of that. Is also reaching out to students and business leaders not only in India but also internationally in Singapore and China. So over to you.
Thank you.
Both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? How do you feel, I should ask? I can't hear you.
Awake and ready is the right answer.
Some people are saying awake and ready. You don't seem awake and ready. So let's repeat that. How is everyone feeling?
Awake and ready.
How do you feel?
Awake and ready.
How do you feel?
Awake and ready.
Good, very good. Thank you. So, we have this very interesting topic now in this session that Ashish and I will be doing. And the topic is transitioning in grace, how to prepare for life's final exam. And I think that's a nice way of putting it, transitioning in grace. I was thinking to put it more bluntly, how to die in grace. But really, that's the name of one of the books that one of our members wrote in Ananda, and I think that book you can find it outside. And that book is really about that when you live a life filled with all these principles, all these things that we've talking since morning, what is the fruit of such a life? And really, more importantly for our discussion today, how do you transition out of this world? So it's a very nice word, transitioning in grace. How do you, let's say, pass away gracefully? And I was thinking about this topic today, and I thought the very simple answer is, if you want to die with grace, in grace, you have to first live in grace. Isn't it true? That we sometimes think, as I have to admit, this was how I was in school. When exam time would come, I was one of those students who would not study for the whole year. And just at the very last moment, last few days, I would try to cover everything that was taught in the year. And we know all how that goes. It's not a very fun experience. But we don't want to be like that when the final exam comes. When the time comes for us to leave this planet as somebody was saying this morning, all of us have to one day. That at least is inevitable. We want to go in a nice way. We want to go in an uplifting way. So I thought I would share a few things, and then Ashish will share a few things, and maybe we'll have time for some questions and answers at the end. And the questions I'm about to ask are very simple. The first question is, how many of you have ever gone on a journey on a train or an airplane? So raise your hands if you have. Very good. This is partly to make sure you're awake and ready. Otherwise, I could have asked you just to nod your heads. But if you're already sleeping and you're nodding, then it doesn't help. Okay, second question. When you've gone on that journey, maybe it's a vacation you took to some place, you booked your train ticket, you booked your flight ticket, and now you're on that journey. Now, the day before, the night before, what do we all do often? We pack our bags, isn't it? You pack your suitcases, maybe there's check-in luggage, maybe there's carry-on luggage. How many of you, and you have to answer truthfully, have going on one of those journeys overpacked your suitcases? Raise your hands if you have. Okay, everyone be truthful. Go back in your life. That time when you really, you were going for 2 days, you just needed 2 shirts, 4 shirts, and you packed 10 of them. You needed 1 sweater and you packed 4 jackets. So how many of you have overpacked your luggage? Okay, I see more hands, very good. And how is that feeling? You pack your suitcases, you needed just 1, but you said, chalo, ek aur le chalte hain, So you have 2, then a carry-on, there's a sweet bag, there's a water bottle, and you reach the train station, you reach the airport, and suddenly what do you have to do? You have to take that stuff in. And how is that journey? I want some of you to share. It's a very simple question. Unhappy, okay. You have all this luggage, yes. Exactly. Who's going to carry this? मैं ले तो आया, but who's going to carry all this luggage, Anyone else? It's difficult. It's heavy. You start asking, I should have packed less. Sometimes you realize that on the way back, when the vacation is over and you realize you haven't used half the stuff, and then you're coming back again with that heavy luggage, then these things go in your mind. Unnecessary many things. I have done this myself. And we learn. I think sometimes we learn from that experience that good not to carry so much with you when you're on that journey. Okay, the other question, and maybe this is the other half of the audience who didn't raise your hands, that how many of you pack very light when you go on a journey? Yeah, you're like, I have learnt my lessons, or maybe I was born this way, I had wisdom. Born this way. I'm like, I want to enjoy my journey and I will just take the essentials, just 1 backpack, 1 small carry-on. So how many of you have experienced that? I see people pointing fingers at each other, husbands and wives maybe, or friends. And how is that feeling? When you have that 1 little suitcase, backpack, you reach the train station or start that long journey, how does that feel? Enjoyable. Less stressful. Nirvana, okay. We don't need these teachings. We are already in nirvana. What else? You feel light, isn't it? You're like, this is manageable, this is doable. And you actually enjoy the journey, isn't it? And I was thinking, that's really, life can teach us so much about death, which is our subject. And really, it's really about baggage at the end of the day. Because when time comes to leave this world, all that's going to make the difference is how much baggage do you have that you think you need to carry, or if you have made a habit of saying, I keep it simple. I've realized you don't need much to go on a journey, because death is a journey. It's going to be a journey all of us have to take one day, someday, very soon, because you never know. And really, we want to reach the point that when that day comes, we have very little baggage. Because like I said, like you all said, if when that time comes, when that time is approaching, you are light, you don't have many things, the journey is going to be enjoyable, all the things that you said. But if there is a lot of baggage that you have, and we are going to talk about what that baggage is on that journey, then like you all said, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be stress, you're going to be like, why did I accumulate so much of stuff that I know I'm not going to need? And the other thing is, I want to ask you now, because this is just, we are wiser than we know, we have all the answers ourselves. When you go on that journey, this is the next question. You know, you pack your one bag, one suitcase. Let's say we've reached that stage. We know, okay, theek hai, one or maybe two suitcases you need to go on that vacation. Now you're off to Goa or you're off to the Himalayas for that vacation. You have one suitcase worth of stuff with you. But you all of us have maybe 50 suitcases worth of stuff back at home, isn't it? All our possessions, all our furniture, all the rest of our clothes. Everything else is still there. We don't carry it with us, do we? No. So when we go on that vacation, we are now on that journey. Do any of us worry about all that stuff that's on back home? No, we know we don't, right? Somehow we are like, that's going to be fine. It's not with me. I'm not surrounded by it, but it's going to be fine, right? You go on a vacation with some people, let's say a few friends, a few family members. But if you have 50 friends, you have 50 family members, you leave them all behind for that week, 10 days. Do you worry about them on that journey? No, you know they're going to be fine, right? All your responsibilities, everything that takes up so much of our time every day. I'm responsible for this. Everything. Don't you just drop that? Right? When you go on that vacation? It's a baggage on one level. But all of us, nobody has to tell us, we know how to do it on that 1 week break. We know how to do it on that vacation. To let everything be and we still are happy. Isn't it? Right? And so that's the second point. That when that journey of death comes again, it's just a journey. It's just like this journey. And when it comes, why is there that fear, sorrow? Because we won't take any of that with us. But then that should be fine, right? Because we are used to it. Doing it for shorter periods of time, we're always happy. And then the final thing I wanted to ask or mention was that, again, when you go on that journey, let's say it's to a foreign country. When I remember the first time I went abroad, it was very nice. You go, you hear, I think for me it was Singapore, and you see all the things you are supposed to do, all the tourist attractions, all the parks and the things you want to do. And how do you feel? Just think back to your first journey on a train or a plane. You're going to a new city. How do you feel? Excited. Sorry? Amazed. More. Everyone's awake? Thrilled. Remember back to that time. How do you feel? How did you feel? When you're going to a new place, you've not been there before, but you've been making plans, waiting. How are you? Say that louder. Thrilled. Yeah, you're joyful. Maybe you're planning with your friends. You're looking forward to it, isn't it? You've never been there. You don't know what to expect. But there's, like someone was saying, there's an excitement in the air. You're planning, there's anticipation. And so it is finally again. When we talk about death, Yogananda said it's the most silly thing to fear it. Because it's a journey to some place unknown perhaps. But we know when we go on these trips to these places which are unknown, we are always joyful. It's not, we are anticipating, we are looking forward to it. And so what's off here then? Why do we need this session? How to prepare for life's final exam? We just have to, these are very simple things on one level, and we all kind of realize it in our soul level. And it's just about every single day. Life is just saying, what you do when you go on those journeys to those cities, do that every single day. Get up in the morning and ask yourself, in this day that I'm going to go through, what do I not need in this day? And just drop that baggage. Just take a moment. You get up on the bed, just take a few moments. If you pray, if you meditate, whatever, sit on your bed and say, today, what do I not need on this journey? And just mentally go through your mind and say, okay, I can drop that. I can live without that one. I've been away from that one in the past and I've still be happy. And drop that baggage mentally. Often when I go for a walk near my home in Delhi, it might be a long walk to the park. It might be even on a drive sometimes. I just go for a drive. And I consciously leave my phone at home. I leave my wallet at home. Maybe I'll take my driving license, maybe a 100 rupee note just for an emergency. But I just go. I don't take anything else. Because these are the small ways we have to practice this. Our independence from the things that we feel, I can't live without. So you say, I can drop that baggage that's unnecessary on this half an hour journey that I'm about to take in the park or on the road. I can do without it. And then you build and you start remembering. I was thinking, when we were all children, small children, young children, maybe babies, maybe 6 months, 1 year old, are small children often happy? Yes or no? Yes. Why do you think they are happy? A small baby, 6 months, 1 year old. Of course, they also cry, I know. But why are they often so joyful? Why do they smile? Why are they so happy? They have no baggage. Excellent. And I'm going to talk about that. What is that kind of baggage that they don't have? What else? Why are they so joyful? Why are they so happy? They are innocent. They live in the moment. They are in touch with God. Yeah, all right answers. Do they have any possessions to their name that they're aware of? Nobody has told them कि ये pram आपका है, आपका नाम लिखा है इस पे, and that cupboard is yours. They have nothing. We had nothing when we were that stage. Yet we were the most joyful. That was the time in our lives when we maybe even didn't have clothes over our body, but we were the most joyful. And like someone said, because we did not have baggage. And the yogis say, Yogananda said, Swami Kriyananda would say, that this baggage which we want to drop, now it's not a physical baggage like we pack our suitcases. He said, these are our self-definitions that we accumulate through our life as we grow up. That I am this, I am that. I have this, I have that. I am rich, I am poor. I am a banker. I am a dentist. I am Indian. I am American. I have many talents. I don't have anything. And these self-definitions, Yogananda said, really are the only baggage of the soul. Because they are the ones who bind us down and prevent us from feeling free. That's why that child feels so happy, so joyful, because that self-identification, self-definition is almost nil. He has no reference that this is mine, that is mine, I have this quality, talent, that is mine. None of that is there. There is, like someone says, there's a lot of joy because you're very close to your soul nature. And that's where we want to head when we want to prepare for life's final exam. And so every day we want to prepare and we want to shed our self-definitions. And how do you do that? How do we do that? Is it easy? Yes. It is easy on one level. On another, it isn't. But it is on one level very easy. And, it begins just every single day not identifying with these passing self-definitions. When you were a baby, maybe today you are 30 and you're a banker, right? And you are You've convinced yourself I'm a banker. I'm a banker. I work in the bank. I go every day. I have been a banker. I'm a good banker. People tell me I'm a great banker. But really, is that who you are? Are you bankers? No. What were you when you were 5? It's something that has changed. And by that very fact that you are that identity for a brief moment of time before, after you're not that tells you that's not real. And so Yogananda said, don't identify yourself with anything that is not true ultimately. Because when the time comes to transition and you have a lot of identifications like that, that's what makes it hard. That we suddenly don't know, but what will happen in the unknown? Because whatever I know I am, is suddenly not going to be there. And that's why the yogis say, practice it now. Practice it every day. And just affirm, like the great master says, that I am a child of God. I am made in God's image. I am made in the image of the divine. I am perfect. I am free. I am joyful. And everything else is, it's not important. It's really not important. So it takes practice, of course. But I tell you, we practice it. And I can tell you from my own experience, it's not hard when you begin practicing these things that, don't feel that you are this body and personality. When I used to, in the very beginning, many years ago, somebody comes up to you and says something mean. Or you have a talent, you are, let's say, a good cook. And somebody comes and says, I tasted your food, it was horrible. How do you feel? We feel bad, naturally, right? They're like, tasteless. It was, the worst food I've ever had. You feel bad. Why do you feel bad? Because Yogananda said you're identifying yourself with something, that I am a good cook. And then what happens? Somebody comes along and says you're not. The ego wants to defend that position, maintain it. Everyone's been telling me I am, so how come you're telling me I'm not? And then this tug of war begins and leads to many, many other complications. But if you can just by practice, discipline yourself and just catch that thought at that moment, you can really, I tell you, you can turn that emotion into joy. If you release that self-identification. So what I mean is somebody comes and tells you, you're a terrible cook. And rather than, justifying and defending yourself, just smile. Don't say anything. And inwardly, you can say, that's true. I am not a cook after all. Are we cooks? We are not cooks. Were we bankers? We are not. So we do everything in this world. We have to. All of us have to fulfill our dharmas, our duties. But the key is not to take it so seriously that it becomes our identity. Right? And so that's the kind of baggage the yogis say, every day, drop it. Whatever you feel, not this, not that, I'm not this, I'm not that. So I tell you, it becomes more easier. The more you practice it. And I was telling some friends in Delhi recently, now, after some years of practicing this, when I've done something which, let's say I deserve credit, somebody should come and acknowledge and give you flowers and people totally ignore you. It's as if in their mind that never happened. I feel so good about it because you start those self-identities, you start seeing yourself in that true perspective, like that child. So you say, I'm not important. So why am I fretting if someone didn't come and, whatever, give me credit? Or someone comes and says something mean to you, and you don't respond, you don't react in the same way. And you start enjoying really your own nothingness. You start enjoying, oh, good. I'm glad they didn't invite me to that party or that conference or that meeting where I, because of my position, should have been there. You're like, good. One less conversation to have. One less thing to worry about, Because this I is the source of all of these things, Like Jyotishji was saying this morning, if we can expand that while living, then when death comes, it's just blissful. Like Yogananda said, death is then just walking from this room into the next. Is that terrible, walking from this room into the next? It's no effort, takes 5 steps. It's like, oh, new room. And that's then what death will be like, transitioning in grace. So we have to live in grace. We have to live every day with that attitude. And then really every day becomes joyful. You start feeling lighter, just like that journey. And then, when death comes, it's just a simple transition. And so many of our friends, and again, I encourage you maybe to go through that book. There is one more book by Yogananda ji, Karma and Reincarnation. And that's also a very, very nice book on this subject. And that so many of our friends who have practiced these teachings, you hear of their stories when they pass away from this earth, and just mind-blowing. There is so much grace, there is so much light, there is so much freedom when they go, and you look at the kind of freedom they go in, and just it's beautiful. I'll close with this. A dear friend of ours in Delhi many years ago, he passed away, and he was practicing these things not for a very long time, even for some years, but when he passed away, he knew, as would often happen back in the day, when his time of departure was coming. And Mr. Beej, he called his family, they were all in Delhi, and he said, come to the hospital, I'll be going tomorrow. And some of us from the ashram also went. And he was lying on the hospital bed, and he sat up when people came, and he looked around to his family, and he said, I'm going. With complete freedom, with that calmness, because he had no baggage. He had become very childlike, which is what I'm talking about. You start seeing yourself back as you were. And he said, I'm going. And he said, now the prana is leaving my legs. Now it is leaving my calves. Now it is leaving my thighs. Prana, energy, which we've been talking about today. And he said, now it has left my stomach. And one by one, he was taking them through his death, basically. And he finally said, Om, and he was gone. So I think that's something to aspire towards. And it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's our nature. We can all do it. We just have to drop our baggage, pack light for the journey, practice it every day. So thank you. And I'll invite Ashis to share some things now.
Just check on the time. Good. So, thank you, Gaurav. And sometimes when we talk about this subject of death, it seems a little morbid, a little scary. It's something we don't want to sort of talk about. Each one of us know, yeah, that's right, but you don't have to tell me I'm going to die. But for those of us who are here since morning or even for half a day, you would have noticed something today, wouldn't you? That most of the people who were here on stage, sitting in front, the choir here, the volunteers outside, all seem to live differently. Did you feel that? And Swami Shankar was talking about when he first came to Ananda and he saw the people happy all the time. I think most of us have the same reaction. We're like, who are these people? What are they doing? How can it be that one person can be happy all the time? We have all been happy, but then we're not happy after a while. Then we have been energetic and enthusiastic, and then we'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this. But yet you see these people, everybody here in this place called Ananda, that they are doing something. And the ability to live differently is coming from only one thing, this path of Kriya Yoga. This is what is preparing all of us here for the final exam. Remember in school, colleges, there was these surprise tests. All those teachers, they'd come in and say, bright Wednesday morning, you're waiting for the lunch break and you go and play some cricket, and he says, there'll be a test. And you're like, that's ruined our day. But that comes to people of time to time when they don't know that they're going to pass and something happens. And yet, they are the final exams that they come. And all of us, even Gaurav here, had to prepare for it, right? In college, he was for at some point. But why not start now? Why not start now when we know the exam? We don't know the date exactly, thank God for that. But we do know that that exam is coming. So let me just talk a few things in practical ways how we can prepare. Of course, if you base your life on meditation, that becomes easier. We had the session before that on the chakras, and as Gaurav explained about Mr. Vij, that you know how the energy will one by one go up and hopefully exit from here as you transition, as you pass this, as you leave this body behind. But mentioning this, that we do have to leave some of the things behind us. And Gaurav very nicely talked about the self-definitions that we have to leave behind. We have to leave behind our attachments. We have to leave behind things that we care for on a human level. But that doesn't mean we stop doing that now, please. Yeah? Look after yourselves. Do everything that you're doing with energy, with enthusiasm, and with as much joy as you can. But really, at one point, the point will come, as it came so nicely with Mr. Vij, and we've seen that with many people. Please do get that book, Transitioning in Grace. You will see many, many true stories of people who have left the body literally in grace. But they have to leave the body. And in preparation for that, one of the things that we can do really, and Swami Kriyananda would talk about it, that our attachment to this body, we can start losing it now without losing the ability to take care of it as required. So when he would have a shower, he would be rubbing his arms and he would say, this will become dust one day. And in that process, slowly realized that, yes, he was keeping the body clean, but not necessarily being attached to it. Swamiji also would say that if you are hungry, try not to say, I am hungry. Say it's just mentally. Otherwise, if you say it aloud too much, people might think you're crazy. But just say it's time to feed the body. Know that you're made of energy. You can never be tired. But if you need to, say it's time to rest the body. Step by step, convince yourself that you are so much more than the body that you are currently living in. So as you do that practice, and over time, you'll realize, as we have seen, when it comes, you can drop it because, like that new city we were going to, it is exciting out there. There is something to look forward to, and you needn't worry about what's left behind. Welcome back, Aditya ji, Jyotish ji, Karthikeyan ji, wonderful to see you. Right, and I think we are also out of time here. And I'll just wrap up with this one thought, that what we see when we first come to Ananda, this level of enthusiasm, this level of joy, the attitude of seva, which everybody has alluded to so beautifully throughout, that if you start to practice, and your ability to practice that will increase, yes, with the company we keep, with following the teachings, reading the books, but your own sadhana, your practice and your meditation. And in that preparation, you will see that you can live in joy and you can exit in bliss. And this transition, it's not something to worry about. Don't look forward to it too much. It will come. But while you're doing your living, live in joy, and then we will see. The rest is easy. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.